confidence in our nation's government and consumer spending is at its lowest in about 2 years.
Despite the deal, that we still have problems.
Henry Montag is a certified financial planner. He says the only way out of this mess is for the government to start creating jobs, increase tax revenues, and work together for the good of the country. But he says you can't rely on the government to do everything for you.
They've got to be proactive. They've got to take responsibility for their own finances, because no one will do it for them.
Here in the studio now to discuss the issue, financial planner Henry Montag. And Henry, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
For the last 2 weeks, we've watched this bitter battle in Washington unfold, and now we've got it done. And so now, of course, the next question is how's this going to trickle down to us here on Long Island?
Well, we still don't know. Simply because we did the deal doesn't necessarily mean that we're out of the woods in terms of the downgrade. If we escape the downgrade, and again, as you know, the S&P basically told us that unless we get our fiscal house in order and unless we cut some in the vicinity of $4 trillion, we could still face a downgrade within the next 90 days. So it depends. If we don't have the downgrade, things might just squeak by. But if we do have the downgrade, we could potentially be looking at a small increase, a 25 basis point increase in consumer loans, in home equity loans, perhaps even in mortgages.
Yeah, so basically Moody's said the U.S. is going to retain its AAA bond rating because of the agreement, but the agency put a negative outlook on the rating, and that definitely means a possible future downgrade. So when the money gets more expensive for the United States to borrow, of course it gets more expensive for us.
It trickles down. They're slashing, as you know, $2 trillion from the just from state and local governments.
Right.
And that means that there might be less projects available, and if there are less projects, then that means that there will also probably be less jobs and less customers, which again is counterproductive to what we're trying to do.
Right. We don't have jobs now as it is, and consumer spending is in the basement.
As we just saw today from the reports that just came out of the last 2 days, consumer spending, consumer confidence, not just spending. Not to mention what the market did again today, 260 points. Do you know that we wiped out a full year's of gains in just 1 week? We dropped 900 points. 2 years ago, we dropped 800 points in 1 day, but this time it was a lot worse. 80 points, 90 points, 100 points, 200 points, and then today the grand finale of 270 some odd points.
So despite the lack of confidence, we keep hearing, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. So what do you do now?
Well, I think this is a perfect opportunity for people to realize that we can't control what the government is going to do. We can't control what the politicians are going to do. We've got to actually physically take responsibility for our own fiscal house, for our own responsibility. We've got to make sure that if we have credit card debt of 18–19%, and we have a few $1,000s sitting in a bank earning 1%, that we don't play that unbalanced seesaw game and just let the money sit there earning 1% while we're paying at 18%. I think we've got to take responsibility and actually do some planning. We've got to overcome our own what we call planning deficit disorder of just the,
I like that. That's good. Planning deficit disorder.
Just a natural reluctancy on people's part to look ahead, to plan. And I think most importantly, we've got to try to begin reversing the course and teaching our children. This is a perfect opportunity to teach our children that this is what happens when things go awry, and this is a nice time to catch kids before they go off to college.
And teach them to plan, and to plan
budget,
what they're doing with their money.
To plan, to budget.
In the final 30 seconds I have with you, for people who've never been to a financial planner before, what's the first thing you can expect when you sit down to talk with somebody, especially in economic times like this?
Someone should tell you that no one will take care of their money the way that you yourself will. It's not just going to a financial planner and giving him or her the responsibility. It's a partnership, and they've got to work together, and they've got to take fiscal responsibility for their own monetary, for their own house, for their own budget.
It's getting more and more important these days, isn't it?
It's absolutely important.
All right, Henry, good to see you again. Thanks so much. Please come back.
Thank you.
Talk more as things develop.